国上海海关税收的20%作为常年经费，雇用工人2000多人。1867年搬到了高昌庙镇，扩充设备，建有机器厂、洋枪楼、气炉厂、铸造厂、轮船厂等等，占地70余亩。到了80年代，又相继建成炮弹厂、水雷厂、炼钢厂、绿色火药厂、无烟火药厂等等。江南机械制造局在同治年间是全东亚最大的兵工厂，对于清朝的军事力量以及重工业生产都有提升作用。比如说，在1867年的时候，每天平均可以生产15支毛瑟枪和各式弹药。李鸿章认为，当时该局生产的枪械弹药对于后来的平乱有一定的帮助。而除了枪弹之外，该局也在1868年的时候生产出了中国第一艘自己制造的汽船惠吉号。1891年的时候，为中国首次炼出钢铁。但是江南制造局在晚清时的军备生产品质并不好，生产成本也比较高，造船的情形也是类似的。江南机械制造局除了机械的制造之外，也设有广方言馆，也就是语言学校、翻译馆以及工艺学堂。在1868到1907年之间，他翻译了160种书，除了军事科技之外，旁及地理、经济、政治、历史等方面的书籍。其翻译书籍的水准被认为超过晚清数十年其他翻译书籍，对于晚清的知识分子吸收西方的知识产生了很大的影响。环球会客室，
从台北走向世界，让世界走进台湾。各位亲爱的听众朋友，非常欢迎您收听今天的台北与世界对话。我们台北与世界对话的环球会是今天不但是现场，而且我们用台北广播电台的脸书专页来直播。您现在可以进入专业直播，看到我跟我们今天的贵宾啊，他是在第一阶段您已经听到的，就是美国之音的中文部的主任 Mr. Ernest Torriero. Is it my correct pronunciation for your?
That's it, Torriero.
Torriero. That is Spanish name?
It's Italian name.
Italian name. 所以亲爱的
Family from outside Rome.
他是意大利后裔呢。我知道他今天呢，他是这次亚洲行，然后呢，他的中文名字非常好念呢，滕瑞严先生。Why do you pick up such a difficult Chinese name, 滕瑞严 as your Chinese name?
While I was taking Chinese lessons, we had to come up with a name, and people in my office chimed in, and that's what we came up with.
呀，真的是因为他上中国课的时候，意大利名字他选了这个。But Ernest, I know this morning you went to our old town.
Correct.
You travel around the world. You visited different old towns in the world, Baghdad, Rome. I mean, probably Egypt, Cairo, etc. And then this one is Chinese style old town.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's real important to keep old towns. I think they tell a real history. Obviously, the old town in Taipei tells of a history that started in the 1800s. And I was impressed by what I saw today. And I think it's really an indicator of what I call Taiwanese culture.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we always say we Chinese moved to Taiwan 400 years ago. So you can see some very old style, living style or building architecture.
Right. And now keep in mind, while I run a entity that's part of the U.S. government, I am not here as a U.S. government leader, official, or anything like that. I'm not speaking on behalf of the U.S. government.
Yeah, but we know that, as a matter of fact, the Voice of America is the number 1 or number 2 broadcasting station or company in the world.
It's we are proud that it has 44 different languages, and they're able to do 44 different things in different ways for each country and for each region. And we're very proud of the history of Voice of America. during the Cold War, post-Cold War, and even today as we face difficult challenges.
Is that true? 美国之音它用44种语言向全世界广播，而且它每一个语言它的内容都是不一样的。从这个我们抗战时期啊，一直到我们说这个冷战到现在。But I understand. But you still receive the funding from the government. So
Absolutely. Voice of America is a government agency. However, there's something we call a VOA charter, and the VOA charter basically says we do balanced journalism and get all sides of the story. That is an important part of VOA. It was a tenet of the U.S. government post World War II that the world receive unbiased, unfiltered journalism. And we feel continually that balanced, fair journalism promotes freedom of the press throughout the world. So the U.S. set up an agency which covers news to be beamed into the world, not to be beamed into the U.S. There's a law which prohibits us from beaming news into the U.S. That's not our job. Our job is to beam news out into the world.
Yes, it's the reason why in the continent of United States, you people cannot, except they have used the other tool, otherwise they cannot hear the...
Correct. VOA does not broadcast. VOA does not aim social media into the country. Of course, on the internet these days, you're able to see anything you want, but that is not our target audience. That's not what we are there to do.
所以美国的公民他们在美国本土是听不到通常的收音机是听不到这个美国之音的，但是他现在用很多的载具都可以听到。But what about Taiwan? Can we hear VOA?
You can hear VOA online. We've got several tie-ins, including we just signed an agreement in the past couple of days with China Broadcasting to provide news from Washington that will be beamed to the people of Taiwan. Taiwan people have long been able to see VOA online, and we are proud of the fact that people here in this free area of the world, where there is a free press here, can also hear VOA.
Exactly true. As a matter of fact, we learn VOA a lot, and then of course you have some recently CTS. We call it 华视.
Yes.
You signed memorandum with them. That is wonderful things. And then, as a matter of fact, as we know, you just mentioned about balance and fair news provided by VOA. How could you do it?
You know, there are various points of view in the U.S. Take the issue of President Donald Trump. There are people who are for him, people who are not in favor of him. There are people in Congress who are in office by a vote of the people who support him, who don't support him. VOA is there to give a variety of different points of view because it reflects our political system. It's good for people to have different points of view, and it's the right in a free country to express yourself. So VOA wants to provide that kind of balance on all kinds of issues that impact Taiwan, China, the whole area here. So we feel that we really need balance, and we strive every day to have that balance.
Well, it's not easy, but I know since you are an outstanding journalist, well, I know you stick firmly on this.
Yeah, I believe in a fair and balanced press. Often we get asked, since we are aiming our coverage towards mainland China, we are often asked, why do you have a Chinese point of view in your stories? Because I think it's important that people understand from a contextual point of view what China is thinking and why they are doing what they're doing. We don't aim to do stories from a sole Chinese point of view, but it's important in the context of balanced journalism that we do have a Chinese point of view in these stories.
So As a matter of fact, I would like to speak a few Chinese to my audience. 各位亲爱的听众朋友啊，今天我们非常荣幸啊，在我们台北与世界对话的环球会客室邀请的是美国之音中文部的主任呢，滕瑞严先生。那么 Ernest 他是一个非常杰出的新闻人员，他刚才提到的是美国之音进他们他们有个 special charter， 他们有一个宪章啊，就是一定要求他们所有的节目都是中立而且是平衡的报道，即便对于中国大陆的新闻啊，他们也都是做如此的一种报道。那有的人会喜欢川普，有人不喜欢，但他们永远站在最公正的立场，向全世界来说明美国的新闻报道的立场。那么今天呢，我们非常高兴啊 ，Ernest 能够当我们的贵宾，所以呢，稍后呢，在2点半的时候，我们会开放 call in 啊，那请您打2599226625992266，也许您对美国之音很有兴趣，也许您对于美国之音希望他们做更多的事情和报道有所期待啊，您可以用英文，也可以用中文来跟 Ernest 来聊天。那么我相信他会很高兴的呢，能够回答您的问题。同时呢，我们也为了感谢您打电话进来，我们会赠送您我们台北广播电台非常棒的一个背包啊，让您做纪念品。那么其实现在在我们的网络上面啊，我们好几个网络都正在直播我们的脸书，我刚才已经收到了一个问题，稍后呢我就会来请教 Ernest。 So back to your young age.
Sure.
You were born in New York.
Born in New York.
An Italian boy born in...
An Italian boy born in New York of a father who came from Italy and a mother who was born in the States whose father came from Italy.
Oh.
So we were 100% Italian.
Oh, great.
I still maintain aunts in Rome and cousins in Rome, and we still have a very tight-knit Italian family.
Wonderful. So do you speak Italian now?
I do speak Italian.
Wow, wonderful. Wow, that is great. But as a matter of fact, so when you were young, you already know what a foreigner is.
Yeah, obviously we grew up in New York where there were a host of foreigners. There were a lot of Chinese. Yeah. New York's Chinatown is one of the greatest Chinatowns in the world. In fact, the New York Chinatown is a couple blocks from where my ancestors lived in New York.
Yeah.
So the Italy part, the small little Italy part, was next door to the Chinatown part.
Yeah,
so New York's always been a melting pot. New York's always been an international point. I've always had a heart for the world. We have loved traveling. And I decided very early on I wanted a career where I could travel and also tell people stories all over the world.
Yes, as everybody knows, in New York, Chinese people and Italian people are very friendly. The food the taste and the lifestyle is similar.
It's only one block to the next.
Yes, it's great.
In the downtown Manhattan.
So when's your first time to travel around the overseas? Probably to your hometown?
Yeah, we went to Italy quite often. My father ran his own travel agency. So we were able to get discounts on cruises, and we went all over North and South America, the Caribbean. We went overseas a lot. The world was someplace we really had a heart for.
So, as a matter of fact, as we know, New York is the model for the variety of different cultures. So you know how to talk, to communicate with the different people.
We really had a lot of friends in school from different cultures, and communicating with people from different cultures it is really just how we are.
So it's great. So you pick up the media or journalist as your career. That is good.
As my career in college, I was covering sports, covering college football, and then I went to Northwestern University.
Yes.
For my graduate degree, and that's where I felt I could take a sports writing way, a kind of flowery sports writing way, into news. And I began my career in Miami, Florida.
Yes.
Which was, a hotbed of culture, Cuban culture and Latin culture. And I've worked in Miami, Kansas City, San Jose, South Florida, back again, Chicago for the Chicago Tribune. And I've had wow, 20, 30 years now, involving going all over the world, talking to the wonderful people all over the world who I'm so grateful for that they told us our stories.
Wonderful. As a matter of fact, 各位亲爱的听众朋友，刚才 Ernie 告诉我们呢，他从这个纽约的孩子啊，然后呢，他到了西北大学啊念书，然后圣母大学念了经济硕士，然后到西北大学得了这个新闻的硕士，西北大学新闻硕士，圣母大学经济学士，然后他就到佛罗里达开始他的这个采访的新闻生涯。一路上，你看在佛罗里达州的时候，他就开始跟加勒比海、跟中南美洲的人有了接触了。然后他一路上到 Kansas 去，然后到不同的国家，芝加哥的 Tribune 的论坛报都是非常著名的这些媒体啊，他在那边工作。But I think you have done things that in Taiwan we never can imagine, or very rare people has kind of a thought, a vision, or experience. That you were in Middle East. Gosh, wow, Baghdad. You were in those Middle East countries, Afghan. Why do you want to accept this kind of appointment or assignment by your newspaper headquarters? Say, hey, go to the dangerous place.
My editor used to ask me a lot, does your mother know where you go?
Yeah.
She did, and she was not happy. I had a heart for getting into hard-to-get-to places, for covering stories that a lot of people didn't want to cover. I feel that in conflict, out of conflict comes some great stories. Out of that tension, I call it the rub, the closer you get to the tension point, that point of tension, you really hear people's stories. People under siege, people trying to really get out of a bad situation. There's been conflicts. There was 9/11. There was the Afghan situation. There was Baghdad. I was in Baghdad under Saddam Hussein, where I had to do a lot of my news gathering outside the country and come in the country because we were not allowed to move freely in the country. So we had to move with the restrictions of the Saddam Hussein government. It made covering stories really difficult, but there were still stories to be told.
Yeah, but number one, I think before you went there, you should receive a protection kind of training.
We did. We took training to survive those kind of situations. But to be perfectly frank, no amount of training could help you survive all the things I've seen. And there were some very hard situations. And some of my colleagues are no longer here. Because of things that happened to them in the conflict.
So, 各位亲爱的听众朋友，刚才啊，这个 Ernie 告诉了我们，他在芝加哥论坛报的时候，他到了中东地区，到巴基斯坦，到巴格达，他的很多的朋友已经遭遇到了不幸啊，但是他们在那里采访了第一手的新闻呢。So Ernie, we are going to take a break, but I know you prepare some songs want to share with our friends, but please tell us, why do you pick up the song to share with us this time?
Is this the song?
Yes. Another Day in
Paradise. I was covering Haiti, Caribbean island of Haiti in 1994. There was a lot of conflict going on. And we knew that when we went to bed at night, when we got up in the morning, there would be some people who had been killed. And we knew during that day we were going to face hardship. And this was an irony song. This is a Phil Collins song, which here we were in paradise, this island in the Caribbean, which was struggling so badly with conflict and a tough government. And this was a song that every morning that we would play.
对，这首 Another Day in Paradise 节奏非常轻快，但事实上是那时候在1994年的时候啊，他在那里，他在海地那边正好战乱，那边的人的生活是如此的跟我们一般人生活不一样，每天对我们都来讲都是天堂，但对他们来讲他们不是。那事实上在这世界上有300万人是无家可归游民。我们一起来欣赏这首充满了人和人之间的温暖的一种关怀的 Another Day in Paradise。音乐过后嘛。
爱棒球的球迷有福了！台北电台与中华职棒大联盟合作推出棒球说故事节目，每周一晚上9点到10点播出，由中华职棒联盟秘书长冯胜贤担任主持。除了带来第一手的赛事焦点，更会邀请场上球员、裁判甚至球评一同走进录音间，分享场边的趣闻故事。欢迎民众锁定每周一晚上9点的棒球说故事，带您了解更多棒球大小事。
从台北走向世界，让世界走进台湾。各位亲爱的听众朋友，您现在收听的是台北广播电台 FM93.1，每个星期日下午2点钟，由我陈慈明为您服务的台北与世界对话。今天的声音是现场哦，如果您有粉丝专页脸书的话，您现在赶快打进去台北广播电台正体的台，我们现在即将要开放 call in 啊，25992266，25992266，为什么呢？因为今天在中秋节这个假期啊，我们同仁们还是为我一起来工作，其中包括现在正在音控场的是我们的总监秦浩先生，他也忘了他应该过中秋节了，回去孝顺妈妈。那么我今天在我的这脸书旁边，你可以看到啊，这个贵宾是美国之音 Voice of America 的中文部的主任呢，他就是他刚才大家都听到，他是意大利的后裔啊，看长得那么高高壮壮的，但是呢，他从小跟我们在纽约这个 downtown 的旁边这种中国城呢，跟我们中国人其实是非常接近的。然后他一连串的职业生涯，他在他的职业生涯当中，在新闻媒体的露出啊，创造了很多令人感动的成绩，也是很多奖项的得奖人。他在2010年的时候呢，他进入了美国之音。So, Ernie, why did you get started at VOA? You have traveled around the world.
Sure.
The first front is better than stay in office, right?
Sure. I was a Chicago Tribune news reporter covering overseas issues, covering some stories in the country, but really overseas issues. That's where my heart is. And in 2008, the Chicago Tribune was sold, and the staff was downsized. The state national foreign staff was cut, and newspapers in America have cut staff steadily as they've lost revenues and changed ownership. It's a very sad time in America for newspapers. And in 2008, I was out of the Chicago Tribune. I was teaching at Northwestern. I was running a site in the Arab world from the U.S., a news site. And a friend of mine at VOA said, hey, there's a job there, supervising Middle East coverage, and you're the one for it. And I submitted my name, went through the interview process, and I ended up getting the job. So in 2010, I came from Chicago to Washington, where I began the editorship of covering the Arab world. We had correspondents in the Arab world and also in Israel. And I supervised coverage of the Arab Spring, and apparently did okay at it, that they named me editor of the VOA News site, English website. I did that for 2 years, and then about 3 years ago, I was in charge of a team of people covering ISIS, terror, all through the region, all through the Arab world. And then they needed help running the China branch, so in August of 2017, I went over to the China branch.
是那个对于中东有深刻认识的人呢，即便在这个媒体报业2008年的时候，你知道整个美国报业整个的这个最萧条的时候，芝加哥论坛办就卖掉了。然后呢，当然这么多杰出的人才到哪儿去呢？他们还是有很多的媒体抢着要，因此 Ernest 呢他就到了美国之音来，他有好多的部门呢来工作。那么到了最后，他领导的就在去年的2017年的8月份，他就开始领导这个美国之音中文部。So I would like to know, it's different. Should I say you are not familiar with the Chinese area?
That can be said. If there's one area of the world I didn't have a high degree of expertise, it was here. The editors decided that my skills in being a quick learner and the fact that I've handled very hard assignments throughout my career, you have to realize every area that I went into, I had to start from scratch.
Yes.
I don't think I grew up as an expert in any area before I kind of covered it. And I've spent much of the past year learning Chinese, learning about the region, touring the region, getting educated about the region, and covering the region from a news point of view. I have 40 years of news instincts, and those have served me well. And I think I've helped our people hone in on the real issues that affect this area, and we've really shaped our news coverage on that.
Yes. As you told me, you under your the desk leadership, there are over 100 staff doing Chinese part.
Right. There's 100 Mandarin, and there are 10 Cantonese. Yeah. We do 2 hours of TV. 1 hour, which I'm really proud of, is where our folks examine issues inside China, where we bring in experts and allow commentary, and we talk about issues that people in mainland China cannot talk about openly and free. That's a great hour of television. And our afternoon show, which is shown here in the morning, Asia time, is from Washington, from the White House, from Congress, from a U.S. kind of perspective. So I'm really proud of those two shows. We also have 4 hours of shortwave radio and lots of content on digital, lots of social media content. One of our big social media drivers is when we translate Donald Trump's tweets into Chinese. Oh. People pick that up. It's part of what VOA does. And that's been a driver of our social media traffic. But it's really giving the ability of people in mainland China to try to talk about those thorny issues that they just can't talk about on the streets.
是，那么我们美国之音啊，它的24小时服务当中，其中2个小时它的电视节目，它有个特别的节目叫做《内视中国大陆》。那么他们特别谈的是中国大陆目前应该非常尖锐可以谈的，但是在大陆他们可能是不可以谈，也无法谈，或没有管道可以谈。那么另外呢，在白宫他们的有 correspondent 有特派员，那么他们那边有这个一个特别的节目。此外呢，他们有4小时的短播啊。那么另外他们做了一个很棒的事情啊，很有趣，他们把这个川普的推特，就是他们要专门翻译出来，让大家知道，翻成中文，让大家知道川普在讲些什么，这挺有意思的。那对于我们台湾人，即便我们要用其他管道才能看到美国之音或者他的电视或者他的广播，其实我觉得美国一个非常正直的或者是经过严格训练的新闻媒体啊，他们的节目其实也应该值得让我们来多所了解。所以他们最近就前2天那 Ernest 他到台湾来的时候呢，他跟那个华视做了一个签约哦，他们会引进一些好的节目，也让华视能够分享给我们国人呢。So until now, what do you think about it? The most challenging part of being your China branch chief at VOA.
Sure.
What's your challenge facing?
It's very challenging to broadcast into mainland China. China does everything it can to hinder our broadcast. And we continue to do what we do to try to get the word into China. If you hadn't to ask me, the most challenging part of that is the ability to get our programming into China. China doesn't want to see that.
对于我们 VOA 来讲，他们现在面临最大的这个挑战，就是中国大陆尽其全力来阻挡这个美国之音的这个讯息和它的播音啊。那他们会花了很多功夫，这也是他极力想要突破，来帮助这个美国之音，让更多的中国大陆的民众能够听到美国之音新闻的这个原因啊。So this time.I know you were trying to figure it out how to, the different ways. Probably your government, American government can talk with Chinese Beijing, government, ask them, try to, I don't know, that kind of idea. They won't accept your negotiation.
We don't get involved in that. Even though we are under the U.S. government, we are a news operation. And my job is to continue to provide aggressive coverage of the story inside China, of the story of China-U.S. trade, of the story of China-Taiwan Straits, South China Sea issues, of the story of human rights inside China, and also telling America's story. So we concentrate on the news, and whatever happens outside of that is not a concern of mine specifically. It is a concern of the U.S. government, but I'm not a government official. I'm a broadcaster. I'm a journalist.
是，那身为的广播人啊，他们是新闻人，他们虽然是政府资助的一个团体啊，但是呢，他们还是尽他们的最大能力啊，就不管是这个中国的跟美国贸易的问题啊，或者我们海峡两岸呢，的关系，还有海峡的议题，特别是在美国国内的新闻啊，他们也希望经过美国之音啊，能够让我们各位听众们能够知道，或观众们能够知晓。各位亲爱的听众朋友，如果您有兴趣的话呢，您可以现在拨打25992266，能够来跟我们的来宾聊天。那么我相信对用中文用英文都可以让 Ernest 也听到我们台湾的声音啊。那么 at this point I would like to say this is your first trip to Asia. You never been to Taiwan. Probably the first time to...
Correct, first time to Taiwan.
Yes. What about Beijing?
The first time to Beijing. I went to Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and after this I will go to Hong Kong. It's been a real great trip for me to hear from people who do still manage to hear VOA. Many people have told me, VOA, I've learned English through VOA through the years. A lot of people remember those shortwave radio days where they heard VOA. And I was also struck by the one question that if VOA is not important in the world, why does China want to keep us out?
Yes.
That was really struck by that. And I was really struck by the inability of the Chinese people to get free and fair, unbalanced news.
Yeah, but I hope, I believe because the Chinese market opened over 20 years already, they have lots of educated people. They also studied in the United States or in European countries. I believe they should have open-minded, right?
Yes, they obviously should. I spent some time last week talking with a longtime editor at the Shanghai broadcasting operation, and it was his feeling that the Chinese media should be there to uphold the state and to follow the law. Mm-hmm. That's a different view of journalism than we have in the States and in the free world. We believe in a free and fair press. We believe in a freedom of speech. We believe people should express their opinions and not uphold any state or anything like that. That's not the job of a journalist.
Yeah, but I believe they are under a very serious control. As a matter of fact, our observation over recent years, as a matter of fact, President Xi, he do more control things than before. So probably it still takes some time. I don't know. If their government, the people, they gradually have different voices or action to take, probably. But of course, to some official, they set up the policies. That is very important. Sometimes it's different.
And that's why it's important for Voice of America to give voice to people who can talk about those internal China issues.
Yes. Yeah, but anyway, you are going to introduce us another very impressive songs. Where has time gone? That is a story you have to tell us why.
Yeah, it's interesting. In studying the Mandarin language, one of the things I have seen is that there's a tremendous heart among Chinese people, including people here in Taiwan, including people in mainland China. We cover these issues, these big cosmic issues, and the tough policies of the Communist Party, that sometimes you can lose sight that there are people behind these stories, people who are impacted by these policies, people here in Taiwan, people in mainland China. And I was struck by this particular song that we were studying and how there's a heart among the Chinese culture. And I think this song also struck me in that, wow, it's been 70 years since 1949. 75 years since the end of the war. Almost, we're going on 100 years. And this song in Mandarin, which was popular in 2013-14,
yes,
actually won Song of the Year in China, really touched my heart. And I will tell you, the more I interact among the people of this region, the more I get a real heart for them.
Yes, 那么因为 Ernie 他上课的时候，上中文课听到这首歌，他非常感动。那我们先来听这首，张信哲唱的哦。这个时间到哪儿去了？也许你也听过，时间到哪儿去了？
It's a wonderful day, Taipei Radio. You'll be happy in the air, Taipei Radio, FM 93.1。
各位亲爱的听众朋友，您现在收听的是台北广播电台 FM 93.1，每个星期日下午2点钟，由我陈慈明为您服务的台北与世界对话。今天的台北与世界对话是现场哦，真的是在我们的广播电台的，不只是用现场播出，同时我们有脸书也在播出。我知道上面已经好几位听众朋友您正在欣赏也从脸书来听我们的节目。那么我们节目的其实今天呢，不止从这个收音机，从脸书，你也可以从爱台北 APP 来进入来听我们的节目。我这边脸书，我自己的脸书上面有一位这个陈教授陈教授他是这个高雄医学大学的教授。There's a message sent from the Professor Chen. He's the professor of the Kaohsiung Medical University. He said, Ernie, American President Trump always say American first. And American first, we know that is your United States, the government's policy, but as an alliance, we people in Taiwan, we people in Republic of China, what can we expect from American first, this policy?
Again, it's our job at Voice of America to cover the pros and cons of what the president said. When we present that kind of a story, there is a balance in that story. Trump's policies are clear, but as far as what the impact will be, I think that I don't know. I can tell you this, from a journalistic point of view, the White House and all the issues that are involved right now, and it is a really interesting story for us to cover, and we will continue to pursue that story and to tell that story from all points of view.
那美国之音的立场，他们是会积极的注意川普他的施政，还有他所说的话。那么，所以他们现在有一个特别是来自白宫的报道，这个特别的单元呢，每天他们都会把白宫他们所做的事情啊，跟他们用非常谨慎的这个眼光和报道来看这件事情。那么，我想这个不晓得陈教授对这个答案会不会满意？他一直站在这个记者的眼光来看这件事情啊，所以如果还有其他续期的朋友，您可以用脸书留言或者打电话进来啊，我们25992266能够来跟大家来报。So, but even though VOA is want to pursue so-called fair and free press, but as we understand nowadays in the United States, we receive lots of different news agencies. Their message, they do not like Trump.
There are all points of view in the United States, and one of the great things about a democracy is that people are able to express the various points of views. The pro points of view, the con points of view, the in-between points of view. And one of the really great things about democracy is a place like Voice of America exists, that a journalism entity under a U.S. government agency can offer you those points of views. We can offer you not just Mr. Trump's point of view, but views of Congress and views of ordinary people. It's a wonderful blessing to every day exercise freedom of speech. Mr. Trump does not call me up and tell me what to cover. In other countries, he would. That doesn't happen in the United States of America. And I really want to emphasize that.
呀，这 Ernie 他很认真的，他就说了，这就是美国可爱的民族可爱可贵之处啊，对不对？他说他们不管是喜欢川普不喜欢川普，对于任何的言论，他们以公正的方式来报道，但是这个川普从来不会打给他说你要告诉我什么，这他想来就是。我不晓得我们台湾会不会这样子，哈哈哈！因为最近我常常听说，有的人也在抱怨很多消息没有被披露在我们国内，但是呢，还好我们台湾自媒体也非常发达，我们还是很这个自由民主的言论还是到处可以听到的。这非常有意思的这个一个非常公正的一个新闻人啊！您从他这个脸书上，您可以看到他的表情，这个是身经百战，走遍全世界啊！即便在这个巴格达时候，他都能跟巴格达的胡塞政权呢，能够来讨论如何来继续来维持一个新闻人该有的这个正直的一个报道的新闻。So at the end of this program, I would like to say you have traveled around the world. You are should I say you are enjoy the honor of being an outstanding journalist. And then you, from the very beginning, you were a reporter until these very high-ranking positions. What's your advice? You want to advise our young generations if they want to go to the news?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was able to talk to journalism graduate students here in Taipei the other day. And I had the privilege of talking to them about the joys of journalism. There can be no greater privilege than to conveying people's stories all over the world. And via social media now and the internet and all the other avenues we have, you have more opportunity to have a wider distribution of people's stories. I'm so thankful for the thousands of people who took their time and sat down with me, and I tried as accurately as possible to convey their story, because people's stories are real important. Many people in Taiwan have great stories to tell about what happened, sometimes sad, very often poignant, of separation from the mainland, etc., etc. You can tell that story in Taiwan. You can't tell that story in mainland China. And I want the people of Taiwan to know how important it is to have a free and open democratic press, and how that I've come here, I've seen this is not China. This is different from China. People can express themselves here, and that freedom of expression is so crucial. And don't ever lose that, and don't ever lose that opportunity for a free press.
Ernie 他非常沉着的，而且是语重心长的跟大家说，我们一定要对于特别是在以新闻为主修的传播媒体的这朋友们呢，要以这个新闻的这个人而觉得快乐来工作，那么更荣幸，而且觉得是荣幸的。那么我们要知道，有这么多成千上万的人，他们愿意听。因为我们的报道，他们愿意告诉我们他们生活和生命的经验呢，所以呢，这个东西都是让我们觉得是重要的，不管是人生的喜乐哀怒或者是分离，那么台湾是多么的重要哦。好，有一个开放、自由而且民主的这个媒体，但是中国大陆还是没有的，所以我们台湾要珍惜这一个珍重的这个机会啊。Thank you very much, Ernie. Do you want to? Yes, at the end of the program, you want to say a few words to us? It's 1 minute left.
As I've said, what matters to me is free journalism, aggressive journalism, covering the story fair and balanced so that all people can express themselves and hear the points of views of other people. That's just a gift. You have that gift here in Taiwan. Don't give it up.
对，我们有这么美好的礼物，我们自由开放的地方，我们永远不要放弃。非常感谢您收听今天的台北广播电台 FM93.1 台北与世界对话，我们下星期日下午2点钟空中再会，祝你有个愉快的中秋佳节，我们下次再会。